little, okay, now it says on air. It did say off air until just a second ago.
Yeah. Um, Hi, thanks for joining us. This is Brian Beck, and I have Laura Allen on, and she's going to talk to us about growing your practice. Um, Welcome, Laura. I would like to start off by asking, what advice you could give to those massage therapists who feel they don't have enough clients or live in a rural area.
My best advice is not to sit in your office, but to get out and get engaged with your community. I have been a member of our Chamber of Commerce from the very first week that I opened my business, which we just passed our 10th anniversary this week. I attend as many other people's grand openings and open houses, business after hours, and all those kind of things that I can, and just get out and meet as many people in my community that I can.
All right. And something I know you had mentioned earlier when we were talking that in particular, there's kind of in some way no reason that you should be successful and have built the practice that you have, considering the rural area. I think you had mentioned something like the population is less than 4,000. You're in a county, one of the largest counties. I believe it was like 50 some thousand. Um,
That's true. I do live in a small town of about 4,000 people, and our county actually is the largest county area-wise in the state of North Carolina. It can actually take you a couple of hours to drive from one end of it to the other, and it is rural, and also it's been very economically devastated. There are 100 counties in North Carolina, and for a long period of time, we were the second most economically devastated place in the state, and I think we were at one point in time for months we were about number 14 economically devastated place in the nation due to the closing of all of our textile mills and the other industries that fed off of that, the furniture industry, plastic factories, and that kind of thing. So it has been a very tough economy here, and we are just blessed that we've been able to survive that.
yeah. Um, and so, taking that into account, what do you think would maybe two, the most important factors that have constituted, the success that you've had, in those difficult times and in such a rural, market area?
Something I think a great big part of it is client education, and the fact that when clients do come in and they find out that getting regular massage can keep them from spending as much money on doctor visits or having to take as much pain medication and that kind of thing, that they start to forget about massage being a luxury item, and they start to realize that it's a necessary part of their health care. So I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it is, people do want to, even in the economic downturn, people still have to have something to look forward to. And I say, maybe people who couldn't afford to go on a vacation came and got some massage instead or something. We have certainly made the effort to keep our name out there and to educate as many people about massage therapy as we can. We turn up at all kinds of health fairs and community events and participate in our community's festivals and that kind of thing. We always have a booth out there and doing chair massage and that kind of thing. And people just find out how good massage can make them feel, and that seems to get them back in the door.
Okay, excellent. If we could, let's maybe dig in a little bit more on the actual, practice and how many, people do you have? How many therapists on staff? And kind of maybe start, if you could, elaborating to us maybe some of the tips or what you think constitute, the success that you've had.
Well, I am blessed with a very good staff. We have 6 massage therapists on our staff. We have a couple of part-time people that come in and out. We also offer chiropractic and acupuncture and aesthetics at my office. We do some spa treatments. Something the massage therapists who are here and everybody else who's on my staff. I'm very blessed with the people I have, and they just bend over backwards to give a good experience from the first contact that the client has, which is usually on the telephone, all the way through to them going out the door. And so, um, you can be a good massage therapist, but if you don't have really good communication skills along with that, I think that's one of the biggest keys to survival is that you really listen to what the client has to say. You give them what they're asking for, even though you may not think that's necessarily what they need. If a person wants relaxation massage and you start digging around in there and think they need deep tissue and you start plowing into that when that's not what they've asked for, without offering any explanation or discussing that with them. Those are big mistakes that people make. Keeping a clean office, being on time for people, just giving little extras, a warm neck pillow, a good nest for people to lie down on. We have all of our massage tables. We have extra padding on all of our tables and table warmers and nice sheets and that kind of thing. And we just try to make a total experience so that people look forward to coming here. One of the biggest comments that we always get is, couldn't we just lie here and take a nap for about an hour after our massage?
And if we were to kind of take a step back into the past to where you are today, even, so like when you were starting out yourself and as you started to add other therapists and professionals on board, what was, as far as how did you create the atmosphere? What, with the, as you brought on more new clients, patients, and such, as far as how that business grew and how you duplicated that?
Well, when we first started out, my husband and I actually opened our business with two partners who decided really quickly, like within a month or two, that they were going to move away to Florida, and they wanted out of the business. And so my husband, Champ, you've met before. Champ does have a massage license, but he's not devoted to doing massage. He is a carpenter. He's pressed into service every once in a while. But when we first opened up, of course, he was working his he was working at his business, his building business. When the partners left, there I was, with an office that had 4 treatment rooms and little old me. So I got another massage therapist to come in there. And it did not take us long to get saturated with business, and then we got another one and another one. And one thing that I started doing was asking around my town and see what kind of services that people were going out of town to get, because this is a small place. And so I found out that people were going out of town to get rolfing, for example, because there was not a rolfer here. I knew one, and so I called him up. He lives in Asheville, which is about an hour away, and I said, how many clients would you have to have during a day to make it worth your while to come down here? I did the same thing with an acupuncturist. I did the same thing with a woman who practiced manual lymphatic drainage. And I started getting these people to come in from out of town one day a week to offer things that weren't readily available here. So, if you live in a New York City, then that's not going to be an issue for you. Everything is everywhere. But if you do live in a small town or a rural area, you could consider, making that offer to some people who do specialized services that you personally don't do. Get them in and sell that to the public. That's gone very well for me. The Rolfer has been here for the entire 10 years that I have. When it got to the point that the manual lymph drainage lady, who actually was traveling about 2 hours to get here and 2 hours back, when it got to the point where people were waiting for 3 months to get an appointment with her, I persuaded one of my other staff members to go take that training. Find out what there's a demand for and offer that.
Makes sense. And so to kind of expand upon all those that work for you, you had indicated as far as the service side of it and the atmosphere, because you have so many, and it sounds, or what ways how do you translate your what you've experienced and the knowledge that you have as far as how they can provide that same kind of service, and with that, as far as stepping into the side of what do they talk about I know you've made reference to like religion and politics and things, but what are some of the, pitfalls of things to avoid, when discussing, and having a conversation with clients also?
Oh,
How
well,
you teach that?
definitely. Definitely I do some talking with people whenever they come here and apply for a job. I actually have very little turnover. The people who are with me currently have been here for a long, long time. It's very rare that anybody's left my practice, and most of the people who have left because they've moved away, or one person had a career-ending injury. I just want people to feel comfortable here and have a good experience here. So, I learned back in massage school that you don't need to, for example, discuss your personal problems with a client. You don't need to, unless you know that you're absolutely on the same page with somebody, you don't need to discuss politics and religion and that kind of thing with people. So, if people bring up if a client, for example, brings up a subject that I would just rather not get into it with them over, do you like Obama or do you not like Obama or whatever, then I say, you know what, this hour is supposed to be all about you, and you're not going to be relaxed and receptive if we're having a debate. So let's focus on your body work for today, and that'll usually nip it in the bud.
Mm-hmm. Good. Is there anything as far as those that are looking to expand their practice, as far as any tips or ideas on? You talked about how you do kind of an in-depth interview, but as far as the ways that you can translate to them, or that you train and teach them, that exact technique or type of conversation you just described.
Well, I have hired some people that I had to teach techniques to. TMJ work, for example, is a big thing at my office, and I've hired some therapists who were not familiar with that. I've taught them how to do it. I've taught people some psoas releases and some different things that they didn't know. You get intelligent people who are committed to their own continuing education and wanting to learn, and that's not an issue. Also, one of the things that I've been blessed with is people who want to come and work here. Actually, have a file of people who are looking for a job. I get contacted a lot, and so I just make it a point to hire people that have a positive attitude, because I can teach somebody how to do a certain massage technique if I think they need it and don't know it. But I've never even made anybody give an audition massage when they come to work at my office. I'll get one from them in a day or two, but I genuinely hire people based on their attitude and their orientation towards customer service. That's a big deal to me.
Right. That kind of being, from what you've been saying to us, that being the secret sauce to a successful practice is really the service side of it. That overrides even, the treatment obviously plays a factor in that. And something you had mentioned earlier when we were speaking is about Nina and how you've utilized and how you find yourself even going back to her teaching.
Oh, always. Nina McIntosh was the author of The Educated Heart, which was the very first ethics book in the area of roles and boundaries for massage therapists. And a lot of ethics classes or books actually tend to focus mostly on the boundaries of the client, but Nina was also a very big believer in therapists maintaining their own boundaries, and that being very necessary to not only our mental health, but our financial prosperity as well. The first year, for example, that I was in business, I did not have a cancellation policy. And at the end of the year, I sat down and counted up how much money had been lost due to people blowing off appointments and not calling to cancel or whatever. And it was $8,000. And I went, good Lord, that's a European vacation.
Yeah.
So having a cancellation policy, having a policy about what you're going to do when if clients are late. Or it's one thing to be 5 minutes late. It's another thing to be 25 minutes late. And so, what do you do with those people, and what do you do with people who are who act dissatisfied with you in spite of the fact that you've given them your best? And so there are times we're not going to ever be able to please everybody all of the time. But I do think I loved one of Nina's statements, which was that educating your clients is a professional way of being kind. And so our cancellation policy, for example, is listed on our website. It's mentioned in our newsletter. It's actually on our intake form, and the client has to sign that they have been informed of it. We have a big sign hanging in the lobby. It's printed on our gift certificates. And so, if you let clients know what you expect, you're actually doing them a big favor, instead of leaving that gray area. And you also, need to be fair and treat everyone the same. Particularly if you are in a rural area or a small town, if you go to charging one person a cancellation fee and you don't charge it to the next one, and those two little ladies are sitting beside each other in a beauty parlor,
right.
that could be a devastation to your business right there if you are in a small area. So
makes total sense when
absolutely.
you say it that way. And I understand, or you recently, unfortunately, Nina is no longer with us, and you were, per her request, have a recent book out. Would be her last book, I guess.
Well, actually, the Educated Heart that Nina authored, she and I shared the same massage book publisher, which is Lippincott, Williams and Wilkins. And Nina had made an agreement with them before she passed that I would get to write the future editions of that book. But I just came out. I'm going to see if I can hold this up here. I just came out with this book, which is called The Days Still Left. And that book is actually about Nina. Nina passed away from Lou Gehrig's disease, which is just a horrid demise because it does not affect your mind at all. It just causes your body to waste away. Nina was journaling her journey there from all the way through her passing for 15 months after she got her diagnosis. She journaled on the Caring Bridge website, which is a great website for people who are suffering a terminal or catastrophic illness. And so I lifted Nina's journal from the website. Her family had asked me to write something about her. So I took her journal, which was just so funny and inspirational. The woman literally laughed all the way to the grave. She laughed until the moment she laughed until the moment she could no longer communicate. And so that was just very inspirational to me. And then while I was in the middle of working on that, I got pneumonia and wound up in the hospital, and I just thought, well, good Lord, I need to get my own affairs in order. And so that was that spurred me to drag out my will, which had been written years ago and really needed to be revised. I got my will in order. I got my living will in order. I got I gave away possessions went ahead and gave some family heirlooms away to my nieces and nephews that I wanted to have them. And that was inspired by Nina because I saw her take care of her affairs while she was sick. She did not want to leave a burden behind on her family to have to, take care of her personal affairs, and she did that for herself. And I thought, I need to do the same thing, and we all need to do the same thing. When people are grief-stricken, that's the last time in the world that they need to be worried about what their family members would have wanted them to do and all that kind of stuff. So the best thing we can do is take care of that ourselves while we're in a moment of health and wellness, and that's what the book is all about.
That's great. She was still educating and sharing, wasn't she?
Absolutely.
All the way to the end.
right up till the end, she certainly was.
Thank you so much for your time, Laura, and the great tips that you provided, and I commend you on the success you've had in your education of other therapists, but as well as in your own practice. And we will be adding a link at the bottom of the article and here at the video, where you can have easy access to the new book. And we do, again, thank you, Laura, for your time, and appreciate everything you do for the industry and the amount of education that you've done for everyone.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on here. And my burning question is, don't you know Brian and Stephanie? Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Well, again, appreciate you taking your time, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
It's showing it's ending the broadcast, if you can still hear me.